All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the Started by the NFL show. Wherever have you listening, we're so grateful to have you with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Sean Cottle, and we're going to be recapping some of the biggest storylines that come out of the NFL from this past weekend. One of them being the dominant performance that the Commanders put on last night against the Bengals on Monday Night Football, and whether there's cause for concern with Cincinnati and their defense. And we're also going to be recapping the matchup between the Ravens and the Cowboys. And it seems we ask this question every week, but is there cause for concern in Dallas? Are they a legitimate playoff team? Where do they rank among the best teams in the NFC? And what does it mean for Baltimore moving forward? So we're going to talk about all that and then some, guys. But before we get started, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all the latest content that we post daily. And if you'd like to gain access to our exclusive content, you can do so by following us on Patreon. You can do so by going to patreon.com, click on the search bar, and typing in Sorry to Bother You Show. That way you can gain access to all of our exclusive content. And none of this is possible without you guys as fans, so we're so grateful and honored for all the love and support that you guys continue to show us day in and day out. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. Like I said, guys, the Commanders put on a dominant performance last night on Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals, winning by a score of 38-33. Jaden Daniels put on a tremendous performance of nearly going perfect. He went 21 for 23 with 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. His passer rating of 93 is the highest ever put up by a rookie. And Washington looked fluid. They looked proficient. They were efficient in the red zone. We know last week against the Giants, they went 0 for 6 in the red zone in terms of scoring touchdowns, and they settled for field goals on all 6 of their trips to the red zone. However, this week they were perfect in the red zone. They scored a touchdown every time they went in the red zone. You can see the difference just in terms of dominance on the offensive end from a team when you're able to capitalize on your red zone trips. And Washington looked fluid. They did a tremendous job on the play action. They did a great job of running inside the numbers, led by Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, both of which scored a rushing touchdown. Austin Eckler broke out a 24-yard touchdown run in the first half, and Brian Robinson scored a 1-yard touchdown run while in the end zone. And Jaden Daniels himself had 12 carries for 39 yards. And Terry McLaurin had a tremendous game. He had 4 receptions for a touchdown. 4 receptions, 100 yards and 1 touchdown. One of those touchdowns coming late in the fourth quarter to seal the game for Washington. Luke McCaffrey had 3 receptions for 44 yards. And Zach Ertz had 5 receptions for 38 yards. Zach Ertz is a tight end that's starting to become a safety valve for Jaden Daniels. And as we know, with the way the game is played today, it's essential, almost necessary for quarterbacks to have that safety valve at the tight end. And Zach Ertz is a tight end that had a tremendous start to his career in Philly, won a Super Bowl, and now he's shown that he can be that safety valve for Jaden Daniels in Washington. And if there is a cause for concern that Washington may have, it's their secondary. They give up a lot of big plays, especially outside the numbers. And Joe Burrow for Cincinnati went 29-38, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. And so Joe Burrow had a great game himself. But like I said, to lead off the show, is there cause for concern for Cincinnati and their defense? They had 2 sacks, but Cincinnati didn't do a good job of generating that much pressure and making Jaden Daniels get out the pocket or collapse in the pocket on him. There just wasn't much pressure, and Jaden Daniels had time to sit in the pocket and make accurate throws. And that that's something that Cincinnati has had to deal with, and them losing their two of their defensive linemen as well as their right tackle yesterday didn't help their causes at all. And Cincinnati, you're 0-3 right now. You play in perhaps the best division right now. I mean, well, what many thought would be the best division, but not so. I mean, Pittsburgh's 3-0, Cleveland is 0-3 or 1-2, and Baltimore's 1-2 as well. But you have to expect Cleveland and Baltimore to, right the ship and continue to get on track. So if you're Cincinnati, is your season over with being over 0-3? Should Cincinnati start looking to next year already? I don't believe so, but there is some cause for concern if you're in the Cincinnati locker room right now. You're 0-3, like I said. You play in the best division of football, and you have a tough schedule coming up, and your defense isn't going to get better because of the injuries that you just procured. So you're going to face more struggles on the defensive end, and it's going to be a struggle for Cincinnati. And Joe Burrow had a great game last week. And how do you maintain that consistency for Joe Burrow? It's giving him time in the pocket. But with Cincinnati losing one of their linemen, that will be difficult. It's going to be difficult for Cincinnati to do that. So if you're Washington, your takeaway is you're 2-1. You're off to a better start than people expected. Jaden Daniels looks as good as advertised, and led by a great coaching a coaching staff that believes in him and is bought into him, with Dan Quinn as the head coach and Cliff Kingsbury as the OC. It seems that they've tailored this offense entirely to fit Jaden Daniels, and it's beneficial for Washington. And one thing with Jaden Daniels, something that he was good at in LSU that a lot of people don't talk about, is he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, and he doesn't turn the ball often, if ever. And that was something that was on display, or that's been on display since he's played so far. One of the things that when it comes to rookie quarterbacks, you expect them to make turnovers, you expect them to throw interceptions and make bad reads and coverage, but Jaden Daniels hasn't done that yet, and that's part of the reason that Washington is 2-1 right now. And for Washington, you're exceeding your expectations right now, which is great. So you try to ride that momentum and try to ride that energy, over the course of the season. And if you're Cincinnati, there is cause for concern, and you have to start riding the ship right now before things get out of control, because 0-3 can easily turn into 0-5, and 0-5 can easily turn into 2-7. And once you get to there, then the seasons could be gone at that point. But let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Were you guys impressed with Washington's performance, or was it more so just bad Cincinnati? Or did Cincinnati play bad, or was it just great Washington? Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. And our next segment, guys, we're going to be discussing another NFC East team that always has question marks next to them week in and week out, whether they win or lose. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we're discussing the matchup on Monday Night Football between the Commanders and the Bengals, and what that means for each team moving forward over the course of the season, and why Jaden Daniels' performance against Cincinnati is a sign of positive things to come for the Commanders moving forward. And before we move into our next segment, I just want to talk about the level of patience that it's taken for Terry McLaurin to get to this point. I mean, think about the number of quarterbacks that Terry McLaurin has played with over the course of his career, his short 6-year career so far. He's gone from Taylor Heineke to Kyle Allen to Ryan Fitzpatrick to Colt McCoy to Jacoby Brissett to Carson Wentz to Sam Howell, Dwayne Haskins, and I know I'm missing a few quarterbacks. I'm missing quite a few quarterbacks, but those are just 8 to name a few. So Washington has had this consistent carousel of quarterbacks, but it seems that Washington has found something in Jaden Daniels, and this just goes to show that patience can be a virtue. It is a virtue, and being able to commit to something and being able to stay dedicated to a path and a purpose despite the things that come with it, despite the perceived negative things that come from it, can be rewarding. And oftentimes you just have to wait it out and be patient, understand that things aren't as bad as they seem in the moment. It just seems worse because our perspective is solely in the right now. It's hard for us to look past into the future and allow our mind to not be present because we're physical beings bounded by the laws of physics, so we can't be at multiple places at one time. So we're stuck in this present moment. So it's hard for us to see anything outside of that. But once we understand that there's more to than just the right now, and that there's things always get better, for lack of better words, and that there's there's more to come on the other side, it allows us to have a more rational perspective, and it allows us to maintain that confidence and that hope that things get better. And I just want to give a shout out to Terry McLaurin for maintaining that positive perspective and that patience, and understanding that this present situation is not the end all be all, and it doesn't define him. So if anything, if we can take anything away from Terry McLaurin, is that patience is a virtue. But in this segment, guys, I want to discuss the matchup between the Cowboys and the Ravens, and how the Ravens were able to completely dominate the Cowboys, specifically in the run game. Listen, we all know that the Ravens won by a score of 28-25, and the score might not be an accurate indicator of how close the game was. The Baltimore got out to a big lead in the fourth quarter, and Dallas was able to come back. But I believe this game was pretty close, but some people wouldn't say that. But like I said, listen, Baltimore had 274 yards rushing. Derrick Henry had 25 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson had 14 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. And Justice Hill had 5 carries for 33 yards. Listen, it's the same issue. It seems to me that the Dallas has had consistent issues so far, all of them being on the defensive end. We saw what happened when they went up against New Orleans, and this week against Baltimore. People are questioning whether there's cause for concern for Dak Prescott and the offense. But like I continue to say, Dak Prescott is not the issue in Dallas. Dak Prescott is the reason Dallas is even a formidable team. The issue for Dallas right now is their defensive end. It seems to me that they can't stop anyone in the defense, in the run game, or in the passing attack. So there's got to be adjustments made for Dallas. And obviously, Dallas is held to the standard, or they're receiving this much criticism because many people believe that Dallas was going to be a legitimate threat to win the NFC, possibly win the NFC East, win their division. And if we look at the offense, listen, Dak had 379 yards, 2 touchdowns. And those numbers could be inflated because they were playing from behind and they had to, throw the ball a lot as opposed to running it because they only had 51 yards on the ground. And despite that, I do believe that the issue is defense for Dallas. If you can't expect to win a game giving up 274 yards rushing to any opponent. 1 week you give up 350 yards in the air, the next week you give up 270 yards on the ground. There's you have to be able to take something away as a defense, as a team. And if you just allow teams to get whatever they want, specifically what they're good at, then that's a recipe for disaster. And that's what Dallas has done. I mean, something that New Orleans does well is they throw the deep ball well, and Dallas allowed them to do that. Something that Baltimore does well is they run the ball phenomenally, and Dallas allowed them to do that. So you can't expect to win a game. You can't expect to be successful as a team if you can't take anything away. It's just like in basketball, you have to be willing to take something away and live with the team doing something else. So for basketball, if you're playing against a team that shoots the ball tremendously from the 3-point line, you say to yourself, okay, we're running everything on the 3-point line. We're running everything on the 3-point line. We're contesting hard contests. We're forcing them off the 3-point line. And when you do that, that absolutely gives up driving lanes, and it gives up dump down passes and lobs as well. But you say to yourself, okay, we're taking away 3-point line, so we'll live with everything else inside the painted area. But you're okay with that because you just took something away. Same thing with football. If you're playing against a team that throws the ball tremendously, you say, okay, we're going to add a nickel, we're going to add extra man in coverage, and we're not going to allow you to throw the ball. You're going to have to run the ball against us. But that team beats you running the ball, then you just tip your cap off to them and say, okay, we took away what you're best at, and you beat us running the ball instead of passing, that's fine. But Dallas has not shown that ability to take something away from their opponent. And that's why they're struggling so far, especially on the defensive end. So until Dallas shows the ability to take something away from their opponent, then teams are just going to continue to do whatever they want. And there's going to be more cause for concern, more turmoil, and more frustration that continues to grow in that Dallas locker room. But one thing I'm happy to see, I am happy to see that Dak Prescott held his teammates accountable, because it's about time that he's done that. Oftentimes Dak Prescott has been the poster boy for saying the quote unquote the right thing, not ruffling feathers and not making headlines. But I'm glad that he finally said something and held his teammates accountable. You can tell that came from a place of constructive criticism, not attacking them, not denigrating them, but wanting them to be better, wanting them as a team to be better. And I'm glad that Dak Prescott finally said it. So we'll see how Dallas looks moving forward. Will this be a moment that galvanizes them, or will this be a moment that continues to push them further and further into the cellar? And let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is a sign of things to come for Dallas moving forward? Do you think that Baltimore's finally turned their season around? Let me know what you guys think. What was your biggest takeaways from this game, from this matchup between Dallas and Baltimore? And with that being said, guys, that is it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And we'll be back again, guys, same time tomorrow with our basketball show and another college football show as well. And if you would like to gain access to our exclusive content, be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. All the links will be in the description. And guys, like I said, we'll be back again same time tomorrow. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions. Don't forget to subscribe, and